We no longer need the community manager job description type of articles. I think we need more in-depth, more valuable pieces out there that actually are very actionable. I think it was a really pivotal experience for me because I got to understand how powerful loneliness can be and how even more powerful community can be in that situation. If you look at two products that are identical as a customer, product A does not have a community, but then product B has a community, it kind of tells you something about the company, right?
Welcome to the Digital Community Leaders Podcast, a conversation with community experts, diving into their insights and leaving you with actionable ideas. Today we're joined by Klara Losert. Klara is the co-founder and CEO of Talkbase, a platform designed to help community leaders measure what matters. Founded in 2021, Talkbase has gone on to raise $2 million in pre-seed funding and has been growing ever since. Klara's career is steeped in community, with various roles working in tech and community in the previous decade. I'm excited to talk to Klara about her love for community and where she envisions Talkbase going next. But before we dive in, a quick word from our sponsors.
We are Steadfast Collective. We exist to craft digital applications that bring people together. A team of smart creatives, we are excited by technology and we always aim to leave the internet in a better place than we found it. Working with many of the UK's leading communities, we use technology as an accelerator to help them grow and engage their members. Our applications resource membership organisations, grow businesses and create value. We know what it takes to ship, market and scale applications, and we apply this wealth of background knowledge to everything we do. We're not just another agency, we are community builders.
Hey Klara, how are you doing?
Hi, Pete. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well.
Good. It is so good to have you here. Welcome to the Digital Community Leaders Podcast. We've got some fun questions for you today, but it's always worth starting on just, how's your week going? How's kind of your life in community week going?
It's been pretty good. And like I said, it's absolutely amazing to be here. My week so far has been pretty exciting. We're launching a lot of new materials from our community that we've been working on with our community members, which is always my favorite type of project. We also had a little team building this week with our team at Talkbase. So it's been a good week so far.
Nice. So that's a really good place to start. So let's dive into Talkbase. Can you explain it to us and kind of go for like a full explanation? But to start with, could you explain it to me like I'm 5 years old? How would you explain it to like a niece or a nephew?
That's always a tricky one, but happy to try. So what we do at Talkbase is we essentially help kind of calculate and count. If you have a friends group, an extended one, right? You have a friends in your kindergarten, and then maybe friends in your neighborhood, and then maybe some family friends. What we would do is essentially help you count how many friends you have and which of those friends you're very close with and which of those friends you could become best friends with. So that's what we do at Talkbase, but essentially we do that for big technological companies. So I hope that will,
Nice.
I hope that makes sense.
That's amazing. So as we're talking as adults, what platforms does Talkbase integrate with? Because obviously you're kind of that analytical layer that sits really well with other platforms. What platforms are you working with?
Yeah, we always say that we help measure why community matters. So essentially what Talkbase does is we are community and business data centralized in one platform. And the platforms we connect with, it's very fluid because we add a new integration now in about every 3 to 4 weeks. So we plug in into your community tech stack, whether it's for your community forums, chat, direct messages, matching, events. And then we would plug into your business stack, whether that's your business CRM, your emailing platform, and any kind of add-ons that you might have there. I believe right now we have something around 10 platforms we connect with, but we already have several more coming out next month. So we've been now very much focusing on our integration stack. And we do custom integrations as well. So we have some companies and some customers that have built something in-house, or they have really adjusted the one of the platforms that's out there. So that's really important, right? Because once we are able to map out your ecosystem, then we're really able to get that value and help you kind of understand and visualize the impact that community is having on your business.
Yeah. When we took the 2023 Community Leaders Report, we saw one of the pain points for community leaders was being able to report the value of ROI to your management, basically. And we always say that when we're working with clients, a lot of our role is to make you look good to your managers. And often your managers have maybe slightly different ideas of success than you do as a community manager. So I guess what you're doing is you're basically kind of giving over these tools and reporting to try and help them prove the ROI of what they're actually achieving in their community.
Absolutely. And it's a little bit more than that because as a community builder or manager, right, as a VP of community, head of community,
Mm.
you need kind of actually two buckets of data to work with. You first of all need the engagement, retention, kind of the health of the community to really understand the day-to-day of community management and to be able to, do more activities that really are helpful and add value for the community. And then you need that second bucket of data, which is more cross-functional, right? Where we then look
Mm.
at the impact of how those community activities impact other teams. And I think what a lot of community managers don't realize is that those two buckets are very different.
Yeah.
And right, I mean, they're very connected, but you need each of them for different situations. So
Mm.
our goal was to build essentially a really good CRM where you're able to first of all like do the daily work, then a really good engagement dashboard, and then the next step was those ROI
Mm.
dashboards, right? So it's kind of like adding more depth every time we kind of release something in terms of our platform, so that you're able to not just do your work really well, have kind of be organized, not spend so much time in spreadsheets, and also be able to report
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you can let your management team know that actually your most engaged members are also the ones that churn the least or the ones that convert the quickest, that's the sort of conversation that gets sales teams really excited. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, what if we helped you with your budget over here? Or what if we gave you some dev resource over here? And as soon as you can start to really show that value, especially early on, it does unlock conversations and budgets and opportunities for you to then grow. And it's definitely concerning, I think, when CMs don't realize they do need to talk that language. It's important they start really caring about what other folk are caring about in their wider teams, because ultimately community can't be a silo by itself. It's got to be pushing towards a retention or whatever the other goal is, because otherwise it becomes very much a nice to have rather than a crucial part of the foundations of your growth, right?
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I think it's one of those things where community managers, I think there was this sort of like bias before in our industry that you need to do community kind of for the good sake of it, right?
Mm.
Not as an official like business tool or as an official business activity. But I think, if you look at two products that are identical as a customer and you're choosing which platform or which product, which vendor do I want to go with? And, I see that product A does not have a community. They invest a lot, maybe in sales, maybe it's marketing, but then product B has a community. It kind of tells you something about the company, right? It tells
Mm.
you they have decided to not just build a great platform, but they have decided to give something extra to the industry, to their potential customers, to their current customers, help them with new job opportunities, education, certifications, right? And if you look at it from that point of view, I think companies should be very proud and community managers should be really proud of building those business related communities, because it shows so much about the company's value, right?
Mhm.
And the value it holds. So yeah, that's something I think I wish more CMs would embrace,
Mm.
and like you said, measure from the start, because if you do, then you're able to kind of watch for those little trends early on, and you'll always have that historical context no matter how far back you want to go.
Yeah, spot on. And are folk who are reaching out to you to get kind of onboarded, are they generally CMs directly, or are they founders, or heads of marketing? Kind of who's kind of the folk who are actually kind of making the decision?
It really depends on either the size of the company or size of the community. I think the two are not always, it varies, right? You can have a very small community team and 100,000, a million of member size community, or it can be kind of vice versa. So we always kind of take these conversations individually to make sure that we're really, giving them the right solution for their current situation. A lot of the times we would start chatting with the person that's really hands-on in our product, right? We would start chatting with the CM, kind of with the person who's in touch with the community in it every day. And then the conversation, as it evolves, we then look at, all right, who is the buyer and what they actually need from the platform, right? Because for community managers, they get our product right away and they see the value, and then it's about us helping them understand, all right, what is it that you're trying to show with your community, where you need more support, as well as where do you need our help to help you connect with the other teams, right? And those are the teams that we would then talk to.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. You kind of building that advocate with the CM, and then internally they're fighting the good fight for you as well with the finance teams and whatnot, who are maybe cautious about handing over data or letting you integrate into certain CRMs, etc. They're already fully on board and they're pushing it forward. It makes sense. What was your start in community? Because I know that Talkbase wasn't your first kind of foray into the community world.
Yeah, that's very true. So before kind of becoming a founder and being really in the community space, I used to be an operator in several different early stage startups. So about 10 years ago, I originally started my career in people ops, in HR, and I very quickly transitioned to operations. So my role would essentially be a founder would hire me to their startup. I was an employee number 7, then it was number 4, and then I was employee number 1 in different tech companies. And what I would essentially do is help them get the business up and running from anything non-technical. So we would set up legal entities. I would run finance, investor reporting, hiring, marketing, growth, building communities, right? All the things at once. And when I first entered kind of this tech startup world, I realized that we were reinventing the wheel so much. We spent hours like brainstorming on pricing and hours brainstorming on like the right language. And I started kind of Googling more, essentially. And where I'm from, back in Prague, we didn't really have a startup community. And I thought it would actually be, I wasn't a founder, right? But I was very early on in the team. And I thought it would be great to have a group of folks I could actually chat to about this, so that we're not just constantly spending time on something that we could already learn so much faster. And I thought it'd be really cool to connect with other founders. I wanted to be a founder myself in the future, but also other folks that are kind of these like key first hires in different companies for us to network and get to know each other. So I started this little community. It was a Facebook group, very, very, very OG. And we started doing events and meetups. And my dream at that point was to do a meetup where we would have every single startup founder at one of these rooftops where we organized in Prague that would come in and we would take a picture. And that happened, I would say, about 6 months after I started the community. We had our first Founders to Founders event, which is still running after 6 years. And the community actually grew into the largest startup ecosystem in the country. The community later got acquired by an online media with over, I think, 1.5 million readers monthly. And I got the opportunity to then build their community team in-house before I kind of handed over my work. But I was doing all of this as a side hustle. So, right, it was like, I was like sponsoring some of the events. I was paying for our Facebook ads. I just loved building that community. And I still am in touch with some of those founders to this day. And I think it was a really pivotal experience for me because I got to understand how powerful loneliness can be and how even more powerful community can be in that situation, right? And how important it is to build those relationships at work, outside of work, and how really beneficial and, again, pivotal they can be for your career, for what you're building. So now that I'm in this space, kind of on the other side, we are a vendor for these other community teams. I've seen it firsthand, right? And then I had several different head of community titles in different companies, and I got to learn that again and again and again, right? So that's why we're really passionate about what we're building here at Talkbase, and I'm very happy to say that I think all of our team members were a community member or community builder at some point,
Mm.
whether it was in NGOs, in open source, in different kind of pro bono projects. So we're all very passionate about this. So yeah, that's how my career in community got started.
Nice. Fab. And then recently you've relaunched the community around Talkbase itself. Do you want to jump in to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes,
Talkbase Friends community?
that's right. It's the Talkbase Friends community. And we were, when we first started, it was, a lot of folks were doing communities for community folks. Our initial aim with Talkbase and product angle was community operations. We soon then realized after building several different fully functioning products, I think we went on to 6 different products
Okay.
at one point. Um, we realized that the really core pain point that we really want to solve and solve well was analytics. And what I was thinking about our community was our community has always been there for us when we were launching a product hunt, whenever we do a new resource, whenever we're looking for speakers, when we organized our first community rebellion conference. Actually, every piece of content you see coming from Talkbase is done and built with our community, which is something I'm very proud of. And what I realized is that our community is really here for us. So we need to set it in a way where they actually have the opportunity to choose how they want to be involved
Mm.
and have that kind of personalized onboarding experience based on what they prefer, how they want to engage, and what they want to give to the community. So what I did essentially over the last couple of months was look at our members, look at our data, look at our engagement, look at kind of the most common topics and the best events we've done, look at also what we've been hearing and kind of in feedback forms what we've been getting. We currently have 2 event series running, and we're launching a 3rd one very soon, which I'm very excited for. And what we did essentially, I revamped our whole onboarding process. You now have the opportunity to choose how you want to be onboarded, whether it's through a personal conversation or just async. I think we're pretty much the first kind of community that shares with you the full tech stack. And we're also very transparent about not using any automations. And you can tell that folks are really excited about that, because I just sent out a couple of messages to a couple of members, and somebody reached out saying, "Hi, Klara, hope this is not a bot or an automation. Great to hear from you." And I sent them the list, and I said, no, we're not using any of those, because I know as a community builder, what's my opinion, right? So we wanted to make sure that it's very authentic. And most importantly, we finally relaunched our website. We haven't had a website. It's been kind of in construction for the last couple of months. There has been a lot on our plates, but I'm happy to say it's finally out there. And I think it reflects what we do much better. And there are different sections on kind of different roles you can choose, how to be involved. You see the resources our community build, and you can see how you can join us in terms of kind of changing the community tech stack landscape. So there's a lot of exciting things.
Yeah, no, I really liked the onboarding page around, look, come be a member, come get involved, or actually, if you're up for it, actually, there's loads of opportunities for you to speak, to volunteer, or actually, do you want to get involved even further? And I love the fact that it's quite transparent. There's not a requirement for each of those. You can pick how much time and resource you kind of want to get involved in that. I'm aware there's obviously quite a few community groups out there. So trying to find that differentiation between what you're doing and say what CMX or whoever are doing is quite important to try and carve out some kind of niche. And it feels like that flow of working out quite quickly how involved you want to get is quite a nice indication of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have launching these groups. Obviously, you always have this grandiose picture of what this is going to look like. And once you launch, the reality is very different. But I'm still really happy to say that we had many folks reach out wanting to be builders with us. So we actually are now already beta testing our second big feature, like a completely new feature that no one has ever seen before, with those builders, and getting feedback from them.
Awesome.
And in terms of our contributors contributors that are helping us build content, I'm now working with 6 different folks in our community on different projects that they kind of raised a hand to be a part of. We're designing new swag, we're doing a new template library, we're doing a new ebook. And these are all projects that we wanted to build ourselves and we kind of had in the backlog. But folks reached out and said, hey, I'm very passionate about this. I think that the industry needs this. And we are trying to now really focus on the content. We no longer need the community manager job description type of articles. And I don't think we no longer need the what's community management type of content. I think we need more in-depth, more valuable pieces out there that actually are very actionable and help you understand how to make cross collaboration work, right? How to really integrate community with the rest of the business, right? How to really make those smart decisions, how to present community internally out there, right? So that's kind of what we're really passionate about and the type of content that we're now building.
Nice. And also it gives a fantastic opportunity for those who are collaborating with you on that to have a platform to then share that, to raise their profile. And it's all self-reciprocating, which is really nice.
Absolutely. We always give credit, always give quotes, and every project that any of our members work on with us, they're paid for. So we don't expect any of our members to kind of volunteer. We had a couple of volunteers in like different projects where we were very transparent about what it is. But for most of the things, we know how busy community folks are, right? And we know that usually they're team of 1, team of 2, teams of 3. So we want to make sure that their time is valued. So that was another very important thing to us, to make sure that we are able to then thank them in multiple different ways.
With Talkbase, how are you gathering and incorporating any feedback you get from your users into the strategy for growth? Because obviously that's quite a big part of growing and kind of creating a SaaS platform.
Oh, there's so much. So we were just talking about this the other day with our team. We don't have an official process, but there is one place in our documentation internally where you should find everything. So feedback, as you know, is coming through a lot of different ways, right? It's coming from personal conversations. It's coming from our community. It's coming from our users. We also have a public roadmap where anyone can see what we're currently working on, and our users or potential customers can submit their ideas for our platform. And we also have so many ideas internally, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a group of advisors, kind of community experts, that are helping us kind of, design these new features and kind of make sure that the product is really high quality. So it's coming from a lot of different places. And the way we do things now, our whole team runs on a 3-week cycle. That's the way it's always been. We run on 2-week sprints and 1-week cooldown week, where during the cooldown week, our job is to brainstorm, explore, learn from that feedback. And we actually have a pretty long session during that week where we go through everything, look at our roadmap, and we kind of look at the features that will help us grow, that are kind of core and maintenance, and that are the user delight features that were not on the roadmap, but we know that these will make our users very happy. And we always try to balance these 3 out in order to make sure that our platform is stable, that it's innovative, and also that it's delighting its users. And that's kind of the system that we have put in place right now. And it's been working really well for us. So that's kind of how we look at it right now. But I think it's very relative to how big our team is, right? At Talkbase, we're a very small team, so we're all very close. So it's very easy. I think as we start growing and adding more team members, we'll have to put in, a couple more processes. I would say now it's very, very spontaneous. We have that one session, but I think it's still a little bit unorganized, but I think in a good way. So yeah.
Nice. And can you share maybe an example of something you implemented from a feedback session or from a client idea, which then went on to kind of make quite a big impact?
Absolutely. It was actually a feature that we released not so long ago, we had a couple of requests in our CRM where our customers would actually want to see kind of engagement data in the CRM view itself. So if you imagine a CRM, it's like a little spreadsheet, right? You have columns where you have the name, the last name, company role, email, and then maybe a source from which integration this contact has been entered to your CRM, to Talkbase. And what our customers have asked for was actually they would want to see activities, right? So they would want to see when was this person in the CRM or in this view, in this list, last active on which platform, and what was kind of which community they entered first. Because you can have multiple community platforms, right? You can have a forum, you can have a private chat, you can use another tool for events. So they wanted to see that in that view, so that when they're working with different lists, it's right there. And we were thinking about it, and we thought that's actually a really good idea because it adds additionally within that first view you get more value from it, right? And then you don't have to open each profile to go deeper. So that was one of the things that we implemented not so long ago. We also just recently relaunched our engagement templates. So what we've done with our analytics, you can actually kind of design and build your own dashboards with us. But we have interviewed over 300 community teams, and from that feedback, we've built a template library for different analytics use cases and like different ROI questions, and also different engagement points for different platforms. Slack, GitHub. We're now working on Gainsight, and a couple other ones. So with that, we have now expanded the whole report where we have really divided it into sections on activities, channels, individual members, new members. So you really get everything in one view and you're able to fully customize it. So we do work with feedback a lot. I would say that we're now in the stage where the market is really pulling us in the direction where we are really happy to go, which tells us a lot about our product positioning and the type of customers that we would want to work with. So yeah, a lot of the things that we're working on are usually a feedback of some sort that we want to implement and hopefully ship as soon as possible.
Nice. I mean, we chatted briefly there about kind of those three buckets of how your team spend their time. In terms of, so you mentioned you're a fairly small team. In terms of like budget, right? In terms of, I've never asked a SaaS owner this question. How do you work out where to spend the money? Because you could spend all of your runway on marketing, on dev, on ops. There's so many different pools of place which are always needing a bit more budget, a bit more resource, a bit more this, a bit more that. How do you as co-founder and CEO really work out where you can make impact both short term to get you to your next level, but also make sure that Talkbase is here in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time?
Mm-hmm. It always depends on who you're selling to and how that type of customer likes to buy. And I think that really determines a lot of how you're going to be positioning your company, the way you're going to be speaking, what's going to be your tone, what your brand is going to look like, and what you really want to leave kind of in this market as this company, right? What you want to add, what you want to build out, what do you want to be known for? So when we kind of do our budgets and the way we work, obviously, given that we're a small team, we mostly invest in technology, right? And in our engineering. That's, I think, going to stay like that a little longer before we build out our full-on community team. And it's not just going to be me managing our community. But in terms of kind of how we spend and how we prioritize, we do have, and because I have done budgets in 4 or 5 different companies prior to this, I do have a good idea of if we are in this stage, this is how much we're going to need for travel, for marketing, for tooling, for all these other things. And it's actually, if you have that sort of, it's kind of common sense, but also looking into data a little bit to make sure that you're doing things right. And then in terms of how much you're spending on growth and sales and marketing, because I know that was a big part of the question, you really, like I said, you really need to understand who you're selling to. With Talkbase, we have never invested in ads. And I don't think we're going to, because our target, our customer, right? If I was a community manager, and as I was, I don't think I would buy that way. We were actually testing at the beginning of this year we wanted to be sure. So we tested different growth funnels, inbound, outbound, bunch of content, events. And my hypothesis came true. And that is, we really want to be gentle about talking to our potential customers. And we really want to give value, right? Community managers don't buy platforms just from cold emails. They don't buy platforms just from one conversation. And the reason for that is they need to understand the value, right? Because they are explaining the value themselves, right? So in order to be able to speak that language, you need to be very gentle. And it's actually become fairly easy for us because we are community builders as well. So I think one of the big challenges for us is, even though we're a small team, is to make sure that we are, with those different 6 marketing projects and great content that we're working on right now, is to make sure that we launch that really well, and that we are able to show like, hey, we're here not just to build software, we're really here to push the industry forward and to create new things, new theories, new frameworks, new templates that are actionable and really helpful. And you can use them whether you are our customer or not. And in that way, we really want to build and continue building the network that we have around us as a company, to make sure that, that we're adding something to the industry and that we're able to chat to, talk to our potential customers. I mean, even with Community Rebellion Conference, we invested and like sponsored ourselves the conference heavily. And the goal and the reason why I wanted to do it, I said, there hasn't been anything in Europe, and there is so much potential. And our goal is, I mean, prior to this year, right, of course, but our goal was to really make sure, and I was kind of building the whole conference, almost as a team of one, or I was leading, kind of better to say, I was leading the conference efforts. And I said, like, if I went to a conference, I just want to have fun. Like, I don't want to worry about all these different things, right? I don't want to worry about vendor booths, and I don't want to worry about all these other things. I want to have fun. I want to have the best time, right? So that's kind of what we had in mind, and how we treated our speakers and how we treated our guests and attendees. So yeah, that's kind of how we're thinking about it. I know I went a little bit further than just budgeting.
No, that's spot. It's spot on. And I know that from, I'm good friends with a fair few of the speakers who spoke. I couldn't make it to the conference, unfortunately. I had a newborn. But I'm aware, I know a few of the speakers fairly well. And I know that in treating them so well, you built yourself a really good relationship with them, but also, helped them become advocates of what you're doing over there. And I think similar to how what we do at Steadfast is, ads would never work for us. No one's going to see an ad and make a buying decision on the sort of product we're bespoke stuff we're doing. But actually, if I can build those long-term relationships with folk and, like you said, just give continuous value, that at some point we might be able to make a withdrawal on. At some point, we might be able to have invested enough value that when they do think of somebody who needs a bespoke community platform, or they need a bespoke community platform, they go, hold on, wait, Pete and his team do that stuff. They've been talking about it for years and years and years. Then hopefully we're in the right place at the right time. And I think, depending on, if you were selling a very cheap monthly subscription to something, then that kind of ad subscription can work. But with the sort of stuff we're both doing, it needs to be that relationship building. Dinners, those kind of more intimate events, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not like everything we do and launch is a success and it's well accepted. Not at all. I would say we scrap 50% of the things we do. And I think I'm being very positive with that number. You never know, right? I mean, you can have a hypothesis, you can ask for feedback, but once you launch it, you truly cannot be that sure, especially if it's something brand new, if it's a brand new piece of content, brand new event series, or a brand new feature, right? And I think only the community and your kind of, the network you have around you and your customers can tell you, and you can kind of understand from that which way to go. And I think it's important to not get discouraged when you're doing something new and when you're experimenting, because that's the point, right? If you're doing it with truly good intentions, and if you really want to add value, you will not take kind of this like critical feedback in a way that stops you. It will help you, show you which way you should go, right? So I think that's really important in terms of mindset when you're doing these experiments. And I think that's really important in community as well,
Yeah.
right? If you're experimenting and you have this grand project you want to launch for your community and it's not that well received, well, good, that's feedback for you. You just move on to the next one. We know you had good intentions. We know you want to, do right by your members. You just need to find a different path. That's it.
Fab. We're going to go on to the last question, which is, other than what you're building, what other tech gets you really excited in the community space?
Ooh, that's a really tough one because I am generally very excited about any platform if I really like it, if I like the value it adds, if I like the interface, if it's easy to use. Um, I think what gets me excited right now in this space, there are a few platforms community related, but what I've been more interested in right now was other platforms that are not built for community and how community managers can leverage them.
Mm.
It's actually a topic of one of our event series where we look at different platforms and how you can make the most of them as a community builder. And what I've been really excited about is that how that helps you expand your skill set as a CM. In order, when you're able to use these different tools. So for me, I've always really loved Orbit AI. I think they
Mhm.
just recently joined forces with Hivebright, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And it is a one-on-one matching platform. I have not been a direct customer, but I've actually been a customer as a community member in different communities where they have used this platform for one-on-one matching, and I've always really enjoyed the experience. So that's one I really wanted to highlight and mention. And in terms of other tools, I think we all love Notion. I still love using Notion for a lot of my work, and I'm happy when other communities do as well.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think those are the two I just wanted to mention. Not very, I think with Notion we're not very original, but I think it's just so versatile and so easy to use. And obviously, as a lot of community online is visual, I've been really excited to get a little bit to sink my teeth deeper in Canva because I've actually never used Canva. I've only used Figma, kind of from
Mhm.
design and marketing perspective. But I know Canva is a little easier to navigate, but I've actually never tried. So that's my next big challenge to learn because I know most of our community members use Canva for their communities. So that's the one thing I want to test out.
Nice. And I think if you are a designer kind of by heart, I think there's things you can do in Canva now which you couldn't do a few years ago, which kind of really elevates what you can do. I think go back a few years ago, I think it was a much more basic tool. But no, I love that. And we're
Mm-hmm.
so fortunate that we get to not only work in tech, but we get to work in tech where there's so much choice. You go back 10 years ago, you had a choice of two forums. And now we get to pick from a countless supply. And ultimately, we now get to, as the buyers, we get to make better decisions because of it. And competition drives innovation. And we see that in community really well. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap up, I would love to hear just one thing that you are really excited about that's going on either in your world, in community, or at Talkbase that you kind of want to just leave us with.
Absolutely. The one thing I'm really excited about is one of our upcoming launches, which will be kind of the first real resource library on community cross collaboration with other teams,
Mm.
where in that resource library, we have put together a bunch of articles, an ebook, a template on how to do a community roadshow, and a whole event series with amazing teams where we take on stage one community builder and their respected colleague from another team, whether that's a customer team, sales, marketing, product, and we let them share their story of how they cross collaborate. This is something that's been kind of cooking behind the scenes for a couple weeks, couple months now. And I'm so excited to get it out there because I think it will be so valuable for other members. And I'm actually really excited to learn myself as we're building our community, and our community is really growing now, how we can make sure that we're really cross collaborating, how we can involve our customer and our product team more in our community. So I'm a little bit selfishly excited because I get to learn more, and also because we have put on invited great experts, not just on stage, but also to help us with the content. I think it's going to be very helpful for a lot of the teams out there. So that's the one thing I'm really looking forward to.
I'm excited for that. That does sound good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, but thanks for taking the time to chat to us. It's been really good.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Well, we'll be back next week with another guest. And until then, you can subscribe if you are not done so on your podcast platforming of choice or on YouTube. And we'll see you next week. Cheers. This is the Digital Community Leaders Survey 2023. And this is the Digital Community Leaders Survey 2023 second edition. Back in 2023, we released a beautiful printed book. And due to its popularity, we sold out of printed copies. Rather than reprinting, we listened to your feedback and we included 40% more content in this copy. We created the report to be a data-backed handbook for building the foundations of your brand's community. For instance, did you know that 70% of communities we surveyed saw growth over the last 12 months? And we know those businesses are growing too. Other metrics we dive into include community growth, biggest pain points, community purpose, what are other community managers measuring, funding, participation, C-suite involvement, and much, much, much more. In this book, we present the data and expert insights from Richard Gott, Michelle Goodall, Vincent Boone, Keen Bakatari, Rosie Sherry, Matt Sullivan, Laura Roth, Nicole Saunders, Blaise Grimes-Vaught, and Jan Carlisle. We've also included frameworks such as the community archetypes, ecosystem of impact, community participation ladder, and the community first culture nexus. There's so much in here, I can't wait for you to get your hands on this new edition. You can order your printed copy from Amazon today, or download a digital copy for free at digitalcommunityleaders.com.